Commander Lee Dae-ho stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station, watching alien ships come and go like colorful butterflies. The Vorthak vessels looked like floating crystals, shining with inner light. The Nexari ships were perfect silver spheres that moved without any visible engines. The Kethamoran warships looked like ancient swords made of metal and energy. All of them treated Earth like a zoo. "Another cultural exchange mission," said Dr. Park Soo-jin as she joined him at the window. She carried a data pad filled with reports about alien visitors wanting to study human art and music. "The Vorthak want to understand our emotions. They think we're fascinating because we can't read minds." Lee Dae-ho made a sound that was not quite a laugh. "Fascinating. Like pets that can paint pictures." It had been this way for 20 years, ever since the Galactic Council made first contact with Earth. The aliens had arrived with advanced technology and peaceful intentions. They declared Earth a protected, innocent zone and offered humanity a place in their galactic community. There was only one rule. Humans could not have advanced weapons or travel beyond their solar system without permission. The galaxy saw humans as children who needed protection. "Captain Kim Tae-won wants to see you," Park Soo-jin said. "He's in the strategy room, looking angry again." Lee Dae-ho found Kim Tae-won staring at holographic displays showing the galaxy's military forces. The older man had served in Earth's military before the aliens came. Now he worked for the Earth Defense Force, which mostly meant watching alien ships and filing reports. "Look at this," Kim Tae-won pointed to the display. "The Council has 47 member worlds. They have fleets that can destroy planets. They have weapons that can tear holes in space itself. And they think we're too primitive to help with anything important. We signed the Protection Treaty," Lee Dae-ho reminded him. "We get their technology and knowledge. They keep us safe from threats we can't handle." "What threats?" Kim Tae-won asked. "The galaxy has been at peace for 3,000 years. The only wars are small conflicts between border worlds. The Council stops anything serious before it starts." Lee Dae-ho had heard this argument many times. Some humans wanted to break free from galactic protection. They wanted to build their own advanced weapons and explore beyond the solar system. But most people on Earth were happy with the arrangement. Alien technology had ended poverty and disease. Humans could focus on art, science, and philosophy while the aliens handled the dangerous work of running the galaxy. "Ambassador Choi Na-young is speaking to the Council today," Park Soo-jin said as she entered the strategy room. "She's going to ask again if Earth can contribute to galactic defense." All three of them knew what would happen. The Council would listen politely to Choi Na-young's request. Then they would explain, with patient smiles, that humans were not ready for such responsibilities. Perhaps in a few hundred years, when human civilization had matured, they might reconsider. The communication screen activated, showing the grand chamber of the Galactic Council. Hundreds of alien representatives sat in a vast circular room that floated in space. At the center, Ambassador Choi Na-young stood at a small podium, looking tiny compared to the massive alien delegates around her. "Honored Council members," Choi Na-young began, "Earth requests permission to contribute military forces to the Galactic Defense Initiative. We have studied your tactical manuals and believe human ingenuity could provide valuable assistance." Council Prime Zareth, the Vorthak leader, responded without speaking. His thoughts appeared as glowing text in the air. "Young human, your species shows promise in many areas. Your art moves our hearts. Your music creates new emotions in our minds. But warfare requires experience that takes millennia to develop. Leave such burdens to those who understand them." Other council members agreed with gentle, condescending voices. The Nexari representative spoke through a perfect mathematical harmony. "Human creativity is admirable but chaotic. Military precision requires order that your species has not yet achieved. A Kethamoran warrior, whose people were known as the galaxy's greatest fighters, made a sound like distant thunder. The young ones have spirit, but they know nothing of true battle. Let them grow strong before they face the darkness between stars." Lee Dae-ho watched Choi Na-young's face remain calm, even as the Council dismissed Earth's offer. She had expected this response. They all had. "I understand the Council's wisdom," Choi Na-young said, "but Earth stands ready to serve the galactic community in whatever way we can." Council Prime Zareth's mental voice carried a note of amusement. "Your eagerness is charming, little ambassador. Perhaps your people could design new forms of entertainment for our worlds, or create art to inspire our youth." The session ended with polite words and empty promises. Earth would remain under protection, safe and irrelevant. Entertainment, Kim Tae-won said when the screen went dark. They want us to be their court jesters. Park Soo-jin was reading her datapad with a worried expression. There's something else. Our deep space monitoring stations have been picking up strange signals from outside the galaxy. What kind of signals? Lee Dae-ho asked. We're not sure. They're coming from the empty space between galaxies. The patterns are unlike anything in our databases or the Council's records. Kim Tae-won leaned forward. Have you reported this to the Galactic Defense Authority? We tried, Park Soo-jin said. They told us our equipment is too primitive to detect anything important. They said it's probably just background radiation from old supernovas. Lee Dae-ho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. The aliens had much better sensors than Earth did. If human equipment was detecting something the aliens missed, it either meant the signals were not important, or the aliens were not looking in the right direction. Keep monitoring, he ordered, and don't stop trying to get the Council's attention. Outside the orbital station, alien ships continued their graceful dance through Earth's space. The Vorthak crystals hummed with psychic energy. The Nexari spheres calculated perfect trajectories. The Kethmoran swords prepared for battles that might never come. None of them noticed the small human ships that quietly watched everything. Recording data and learning lessons the aliens thought too advanced for primitive minds. In his private quarters that night, Lee Dae-ho reviewed classified reports that few people on Earth knew existed. For 20 years, while the galaxy treated humans like children, Earth scientists and engineers had been working on projects the aliens never asked about. They had developed new technologies, created new theories, and built new machines. The aliens had forbidden humans from building advanced weapons or faster-than-light drives. But they had never forbidden humans from thinking about such things, and humans were very good at finding creative solutions to impossible problems. Something was coming from the darkness between galaxies. Lee Dae-ho could feel it in the strange signals, in the way the deep space monitors trembled with fear they could not name. When it arrived, the galaxy would learn that Earth had never been as innocent as it appeared. The first world died on a Tuesday. Dr. Park Soo-jin was drinking coffee in her lab when the emergency alerts started screaming. Every screen in the Earth Defense Force headquarters lit up with red warnings and panicked messages from across the galaxy. Kepler 442b has gone silent, Captain Kim Tae-won announced as he burst into the lab. Complete communication blackout. No distress signals, no automated responses, nothing. Kepler 442b was a Nexari colony world on the galaxy's outer rim. It housed 50 million Nexari citizens and was protected by one of their most advanced defense grids. The idea that it could simply go silent was impossible. Equipment failure? Park Soo-jin asked, though she already knew the answer. That's what the Council thinks, Kim Tae-won said. They're sending investigation fleets. Commander Lee Dae-ho arrived 20 minutes later with Ambassador Choi Na-young. Both looked grim. The investigation fleets found something, Lee Dae-ho said. Kepler 442b still exists, but everything on it is gone. The cities, the forests, the oceans, the atmosphere, even the Nexari themselves. All that's left is a perfectly smooth ball of rock. Park Soo-jin felt her coffee cup slip from her fingers. Gone? How is that possible? The Nexari fleet commander said it looked like something had consumed everything organic and technological on the planet, Choi Na-young explained. They've never seen anything like it. Kim Tae-won activated the main display screen. A holographic image showed Kepler 442b as it appeared now. A gray, lifeless sphere without a single feature on its surface. No mountains, no valleys, no signs that millions of people had once lived there. This happened in less than 6 hours, Kim Tae-won said, between the last normal communication and the first investigation ship arrival. What could do something like that? Park Soo-jin whispered. Before anyone could answer, more alerts flooded their systems. 3 more outer rim worlds had gone silent, then 5 more, then a dozen. The pattern was always the same. Normal communications would stop suddenly. Investigation fleets would find smooth, empty worlds stripped of everything that had once made them alive. Whatever was doing this moved fast and left no survivors to explain what had happened. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. For the first time in centuries, every member species sent their highest leaders to the great chamber that floated in space. Council. Prime Xerath's mental voice carried fear instead of its usual calm authority. We face an unprecedented threat. Our greatest minds cannot explain how entire worlds are being consumed. Our most powerful sensors cannot detect the enemy until after they have already struck. The Nexari representative spoke in mathematical harmonies that sounded discordant with worry. Our analysis indicates the attackers possess technology beyond our current understanding. They appear to absorb and adapt everything they encounter. The Kethmaran war leader's voice rumbled like distant thunder. My warriors stand ready to fight, but we cannot battle an enemy we cannot find. These creatures attack without honor, leaving nothing to face in combat. Other species offered their own theories and fears. The Zephyrians thought it might be a natural phenomenon, like a cosmic storm that consumed matter. The Helix Confederation believed it was an ancient weapon left behind by a dead civilization. The Drift Collective worried that it might be a plague that could spread to their machine worlds. Ambassador Choi Na-young listened to the debates with growing frustration. Finally, she requested permission to speak. Honored Council, she began. Earth's monitoring stations detected unusual signals from intergalactic space 6 months ago. We tried to report this information, but were told our equipment was not advanced enough to detect anything significant. The chamber fell silent. Council Prime Zareth's mental voice carried a note of embarrassment. You are saying your primitive sensors detected this threat before our advanced systems? Yes, Choi Na-young said firmly. And our analysis suggests these entities are not from our galaxy. They appear to be moving in a coordinated pattern, consuming worlds in a specific sequence that will eventually lead them toward the galactic core. The Nexari representative calculated rapidly. If this assessment is correct, they will reach our heavily populated systems within 40 standard cycles. Panic spread through the chamber. The galaxy's greatest civilizations suddenly realized they might not have much time to prepare for an enemy they did not understand. Back on Earth, Kim Taiwan was studying attack patterns while Park Soo-jin analyzed the strange signals from deep space. Lee Dae-ho paced between them, thinking about problems the aliens were not considering. Look at this, Kim Tae-wan said, pointing to his tactical display. The attacks aren't random. They're testing different types of worlds and defensive systems. Agricultural worlds, industrial planets, military bases, civilian colonies. They're learning about us. Park Soo-jin looked up from her signal analysis. The communication patterns support that theory. The signals become more complex after each attack. They're sharing information about what they find. They're scouting, Lee Dae-ho realized. Each attack tells them more about galactic civilization. Our technology, our tactics, our weaknesses. The Galactic Council's response was massive but predictable. They assembled the largest military fleet in recorded history. Nexari dreadnoughts that could crack planets. Vorthak psychic ships that could coordinate the thoughts of millions. Kethmaran battlecruisers armed with weapons that had never failed in battle. It was an impressive sight. Thousands of advanced warships gathered at strategic points throughout the galaxy, ready to face the unknown enemy. Earth's offer to help was politely declined again. Your enthusiasm is appreciated, Council Prime Zareth's mental message said. But this threat requires experience and technology that your species does not possess. Please remain in your protected system while we handle this matter. The first major battle happened at the Nexari fortress world of Titan's Gate. It was a military planet protected by the most advanced defense systems in the galaxy. The Council was confident that if the enemy could be stopped anywhere, it would be there. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, Titan's Gate was another smooth, lifeless rock floating in space. The entire Nexari defense fleet had been destroyed without managing to damage a single enemy ship. Worse, the few automated probes that survived reported something terrifying. The enemy ships had adapted to every weapon used against them, becoming immune to attacks that had worked at the beginning of the battle. The unknown enemy was not just consuming worlds. It was learning from every encounter, becoming stronger and more dangerous with each victory. As news of the defeat spread through the galaxy, panic began to set in. The Council's greatest military force had been swept aside like it was nothing. The enemy was still advancing toward the core worlds, and no one knew how to stop them. In the Earth Defense Force headquarters, Lee Dae-ho received a priority message from Ambassador Choi Na-young. The Council was finally ready to listen to what Earth had to say. They want to meet with our military leaders, she reported. They're asking what humans would do differently. Kim Tae-wan laughed, but there was no humor in it. Now they want our help. After they've lost their best fleets in most defended worlds, can we actually help them? Park Soo-jin asked. These enemies destroyed forces that were far more advanced than anything we have. Lee Dae-ho looked at his team and made a decision that would change everything. Contact Dr. Hayes at the Black Mountain facility, he ordered. Tell him it's time to reveal Project Deep Shield. Park Soo-jin and Kim Tae-won stared at him in shock. They had heard rumors about classified projects, but Project Deep Shield was supposed to be a myth. The Council is about to learn something important, Lee Dae-ho continued. Earth has never been as defenseless as we let them believe. The underground facility at Black Mountain had existed in secret for 15 years. Dr. Hayes led Lee Dae-ho through corridors that officially did not exist, past laboratories working on projects the Galactic Council had never heard about. We knew this day would come, Dr. Hayes explained as they walked. Not exactly like this, but we knew Earth would eventually face something the aliens couldn't handle. They stopped at a massive viewing window that looked into a construction bay. Inside, sleek black ships hung in the air like sleeping predators. They were unlike anything in the Galactic Fleet, angular, aggressive, and obviously built for war. The Council forbid us from building faster-than-light drives or advanced weapons, Dr. Hayes continued. But they never said we couldn't research them. They never said we couldn't understand the principles behind their technology. Lee Dae-ho stared at the ships. How many do we have? 200 completed vessels, 50 more in various stages of construction. Each one incorporates technology the aliens never shared with us because they thought we weren't ready for it. Captain Kim Tae-won joined them, his face grim with new knowledge. I've been reviewing our intelligence files. We've been watching the galaxy for 20 years, studying every alien technology, recording every tactical doctrine, analyzing every military strategy. And, Lee Dae-ho asked, the aliens are predictable, Kim Tae-won said. They fight using the same methods they've used for thousands of years. Direct confrontation, overwhelming technological superiority, honor-based combat traditions. It works when everyone follows the same rules. Dr. Park Soo-jin arrived with a team of scientists carrying sealed data containers. I've been analyzing the enemy signals again, she announced. I think I know what we're dealing with. They moved to a secure briefing room where Park Soo-jin activated a holographic display. The enemy ships appeared as dark, shifting forms that seemed to absorb light around them. The Galactic Council calls them the Devourers, she began, but I think that's wrong. Based on their communication patterns and behavior, I believe they're a collective intelligence. They don't just consume matter. They absorb information, technology, and strategic knowledge. Which explains why they adapt so quickly, Kim Tae-won realized. Exactly. Every time they fight our forces, they learn new tactics and develop countermeasures. By the time they reached Titan's Gate, they had already adapted to every weapon and strategy the galaxy had used against them. Lee Dae-ho studied the tactical displays. What makes you think we can do better? Because humans fight differently, Park Soo-jin said with a smile that was not entirely pleasant. The aliens expect logical, predictable responses. They've never encountered a species that uses deception, misdirection, and psychological warfare as primary tactics. Dr. Hayes nodded. Our ships aren't just technologically different. They're philosophically different. While the aliens built weapons to overpower enemies, we built weapons to confuse and mislead them. The first test of human capabilities came sooner than expected. A Devourer scouting force appeared at the edge of the Sol system, probably drawn by Earth's communication signals. The Galactic Council prepared to evacuate Earth's population, assuming the planet would fall like all the others instead. Lee Dae-ho launched a single human ship to intercept the enemies. The pilot was Lieutenant Park Min-ho, one of Earth's best fighters. His ship, the Shadow's Edge, looked tiny compared to the massive Devourer vessels. The aliens watching the engagement expected to witness another quick defeat. What they saw instead changed everything. Min-ho didn't try to fight the Devourers directly. Instead, he led them on a chase through the solar system's asteroid belt, appearing and disappearing among the rocks like a ghost. The Devourers followed, trying to understand his strategy. They never realized they were being led into a trap. Hidden throughout the asteroid field were thousands of small, automated drones that had been waiting silently for weeks. As the Devourer ships passed between them, the drones activated simultaneously, creating a web of energy that didn't try to destroy the enemies. It tried to confuse them. The drones broadcast false signals, phantom ship signatures, and misleading tactical data directly into the Devourer communication network. For the first time since they had arrived in the galaxy, the collective intelligence experienced something like doubt. While the Devourers struggled to process the conflicting information, Minho struck. His weapons were not designed to penetrate their defenses. They were designed to make the enemy ships think they were under attack from directions where no threats existed. The Devourer ships began, firing at targets that weren't there, wasting energy and revealing their own positions. Their adaptive systems, which had made them nearly invincible against traditional tactics, became a weakness as they tried to counter threats that existed only in their hijacked communications. In less than an hour, the entire Devourer scouting force was destroyed, not by superior firepower, but by superior cunning. Council Prime Zareth's mental message reached Earth with a tone of amazement. How did your single primitive ship defeat enemies that destroyed our greatest fleets? Ambassador Choi Na-young's response was broadcast throughout the galaxy. Our ship was not primitive and our pilot was not alone. Earth has never been as defenseless as you assumed. The revelation sent shockwaves through galactic civilization. The protected, innocent humans had developed military capabilities that no one suspected. More importantly, they had developed tactics that the Devourers could not predict or counter. Within days, representatives from every member species arrived at Earth, requesting assistance in fighting the Devourer threat. The same aliens who had dismissed human military contributions were now begging for human leadership in their desperate war. Kim Tae-wan found himself promoted to Supreme Strategic Commander of the Combined Galactic Forces. His first briefing to the alien military leaders was both educational and humbling. Your species have fought honorable wars for millennia, he began. You've developed sophisticated weapons and noble tactics, but you've never fought an enemy that learns from every encounter and adapts to every strategy. The Kethmaran war leader asked, how do humans fight such enemies? We don't fight them, Kim Tae-wan replied. We hunt them. The difference was more than semantic. Fighting implied meeting the enemy in open combat, matching strength against strength. Hunting meant studying the prey, understanding its weaknesses and striking from unexpected directions. The Devourers expect us to use our best weapons and strongest defenses, Kim Tae-wan continued. Instead, we're going to use our worst weapons and weakest ships. We're going to appear helpless while we gather intelligence. We're going to let them think they're winning while we learn how they think. Dr. Park Soo-jin added her own insights. Human psychology is alien to the Devourers. They understand absorption and adaptation, but they don't understand deception and misdirection. We're going to teach them that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one that appears weakest. The plan that emerged from these discussions was unlike any military strategy the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of assembling massive fleets for direct confrontation, the human commanders scattered small, seemingly helpless ships throughout Devourer-controlled space. Each ship carried a crew trained in human psychological warfare techniques. Their mission was not to win battles, but to make the Devourers question everything they thought they knew about their enemies. As the new strategy took shape, Lee Dae-ho stood again on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station. But now, instead of alien ships treating Earth like a zoo, he watched human vessels preparing to lead the galaxy's greatest military campaign. The innocent world had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. The captured Devourer ship hung in Earth's most secure orbital facility, like a dark flower made of metal and energy. Dr. Park Soo-jin had spent 3 weeks studying its technology, and what she found made her lose sleep. They've done this before, she told the emergency council meeting, many times. I found data fragments from at least 12 different galaxies. Each time they encountered a dominant species with advanced technology and military power. And each time, they adapted until they could consume everything. Commander Lee Dae-ho studied the holographic displays showing the Devourers' memory banks. Images of dying worlds flickered past, some with crystalline cities, others with vast mechanical constructs, many with forms of life that had no equivalent in their galaxy. They expect either overwhelming technological superiority or pure physical force, Park Soo-jin continued. Look at these patterns. Every civilization they conquered used the same basic approach. Build bigger weapons, stronger defenses, more advanced technology. Captain Kim Tae-wan leaned forward. What about cunning? Deception? Psychological warfare? Nothing. Park Soo-jin said with a grim smile. In 12 galaxies, they never encountered a species that fights the way humans do. They have no defense against tactics they've never seen. This revelation changed everything. The galaxy's desperate defensive war became humanity's offensive campaign. Instead of trying to stop the Devourers from reaching core worlds, Earth's forces began hunting them in the deep space between star systems. Lieutenant Park Min-ho, now promoted to squadron commander, led the first deep strike mission. His target was a Devourer processing ship that was breaking down the matter from consumed worlds. Intelligence suggested it was a critical part of their supply chain. Remember, he told his pilots over the communication system, we're not trying to destroy it. We're trying to make it think it's being destroyed by things that don't exist. Min-ho's squadron consisted of 12 human ships and 40 alien vessels from various species. The aliens had volunteered to learn human tactics, though many of them struggled with concepts like pretending to retreat and firing at empty space to create confusion. The Devourer processing ship was massive, larger than most space stations. It was surrounded by a defensive grid that had proven impenetrable to conventional attacks. But Min-ho's force wasn't conventional. Instead of approaching directly, the human ships scattered throughout the area and began broadcasting false sensor readings. To the Devourer's sensors, it appeared that hundreds of enemy ships were attacking from all directions simultaneously. The Devourer's adaptive defenses tried to respond to every perceived threat, rapidly draining their energy reserves. Meanwhile, the real ships moved through the chaos like shadows, planting devices that would corrupt the enemy's communication network. Phase 2, Min-ho announced. The planted devices activated, filling the Devourer processing ship's data systems with false information. The collective intelligence that controlled the ship suddenly thought it was under attack by its own defensive systems. In response, it began destroying its own equipment to eliminate the perceived threat. Within hours, the massive processing ship had torn itself apart from the inside. The Devourers lost not only a critical facility, but also began to doubt the reliability of their own senses. News of the victory spread quickly through both human and alien forces. More importantly, it spread through the Devourer collective network, creating the first cracks in their absolute confidence. Dr. Hayes contacted Lee Dae-ho from the Black Mountain facility with even more startling news. We've been analyzing Devourer communication patterns since the processing ship incident. They're experiencing something they've never felt before, which is fear, uncertainty. They're starting to question whether their adaptation strategies will work against us. For the first time in their existence, they're facing an enemy they don't understand. This psychological advantage became the foundation of Earth's expanded offensive. Kim Tae-won developed what he called information warfare, a campaign designed to corrupt the Devourer collective consciousness with false data, conflicting reports, and impossible scenarios. Human ships would appear in one location, broadcast confusing signals, then vanish before the Devourers could respond. Other ships would transmit fake distress calls from non-existent human colonies, leading Devourer forces on wild chases through empty space. Some missions involved nothing but broadcasting recorded conversations between human pilots, discussing fictional weapons and imaginary tactical capabilities. The effect was devastating. The Devourer collective mind, which had successfully adapted to 12 galaxies' worth of military technology, began to fracture under the weight of information it could not process or verify. Ambassador Choi Na-young reported the campaign's success to an astonished Galactic Council. The Devourers are no longer advancing toward core worlds. They're scattered throughout space, chasing threats that don't exist and defending against attacks that will never come. But humanity's greatest revelation was yet to come. Dr. Park Soo-jin made the discovery while analyzing the deepest levels of captured Devourer technology. Hidden beneath layers of adaptive programming and collective consciousness protocols, she found something that changed her understanding of the enemy completely. They're not just from outside our galaxy, she announced to the core team. They're from outside our reality. They exist primarily in a quantum computational dimension, and their physical ships are just extensions, tools they use to interact with normal matter. Lee Dae-ho felt a chill run down his spine. You're saying we've been fighting their tools, not them? Exactly. Every ship we've destroyed, every victory we've achieved, it's been against their remote-controlled equipment, The real Devourers exist in a space where normal physics don't apply. This explained why the Devourers could adapt so quickly, and why they seemed to learn from every encounter. Their true selves existed in a realm where information could be shared instantaneously, and where learning from one encounter immediately benefited the entire collective. Kim Taewon asked the obvious question, how do we fight an enemy that exists in a different dimension? Park Soo-jin smiled, and Lee Dae-ho recognized the expression she wore when she had solved an impossible problem. We don't fight them in their dimension. We make them fight us in ours. Working with Earth's most advanced AI systems and quantum computers, Park Soo-jin's team developed something unprecedented, a weapon that could attack information itself. Instead of trying to destroy Devourer ships, they would corrupt the data streams that connected the physical vessels to their quantum dimensional controllers. The first test of the new weapon was almost too successful. A single human ship, armed with what the scientists called a cognitive virus, approached a Devourer patrol fleet. Instead of engaging in combat, the ship simply transmitted a complex data pattern directly into the enemy communication network. The effect was immediate and terrifying. The Devourer ship stopped moving, stopped responding, and began broadcasting random signals into space. Within minutes, they had lost all connection to their quantum dimensional masters and became nothing more than empty, drifting hulks. We can cut them off, Park Soo-jin reported with excitement. We can sever the connection between their physical forms and their true selves. But the real breakthrough came when Earth's quantum computers successfully traced the Devourer communication signals back to their source. For the first time, humanity could see into the quantum computational dimension where the enemy's consciousness existed. What they found there was both alien and familiar. The Devourer collective mind was vast, ancient, and completely unused to facing opposition that couldn't be understood or predicted. It was powerful beyond imagination, but it had never learned to defend against attacks on its own thought processes. We know where they live now, Lee Dae-ho told the assembled leaders of Earth's forces, and we know how to hurt them where they're actually vulnerable. The final phase of the campaign would not be fought in normal space with conventional weapons. It would be fought in the realm of pure information, where human creativity and unpredictability would face the collective wisdom of 12 consumed galaxies. As Earth's forces prepared for the ultimate battle, alien species throughout the galaxy watched in amazement. The humans who had been dismissed as primitive and innocent were about to attempt something no civilization had ever tried. Invading the home dimension of beings that existed as pure thought. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see if humanity's unconventional approach could achieve what traditional warfare had never accomplished. The quantum computational realm looked nothing like normal space. Dr. Park Soo-jin floated in a pod filled with neural interface fluid, her mind linked to Earth's most advanced AI systems as she prepared to lead humanity into a dimension where thought itself had physical form. Around her, dozens of other volunteers from across the galaxy prepared for the final battle. Nexari mathematicians whose minds could process pure logic, Vorthak telepaths who understood consciousness as energy, Kethmaran warriors who had trained their spirits for thousands of years. And humans, lots of humans, who brought something none of the other species possessed. Remember, Commander Lee Dae-ho's voice reached them through the neural link. You're not fighting with weapons or technology. You're fighting with ideas, creativity, and pure human stubbornness. The Devourers understand consumption and adaptation. They don't understand imagination and chaos. Captain Kim Taewon, now commanding the entire galactic fleet, watched from the physical dimension as the quantum interface systems activated. All ships maintain defensive positions. If something goes wrong in there, we need to be ready to pull our people out. The transition into the quantum realm was like diving into an ocean made of living mathematics. Reality became fluid, responding to thought and emotion rather than physical laws. Park Soo-jin found herself standing in a vast space that looked like a library crossed with a computer circuit, stretching infinitely in all directions. The Devourer collective consciousness appeared as a massive structure of crystallized knowledge, pulsing with the absorbed wisdom of 12 galaxies. It was beautiful and terrifying. Millions of years of accumulated experience transformed into pure information. When the collective noticed the intruders, its response shook the entire dimension. Impossible. New patterns, Unknown variables. How do biological entities exist in pure information space? Park Soo-jin smiled, even though smiling had no real meaning in this realm. We're humans. Impossible is what we do best. The battle that followed was unlike anything that had ever been fought. The Devourers attacked with logical constructs designed to absorb and analyze their enemies. They sent waves of adaptive algorithms that should have broken down any organized resistance. Instead, they encountered chaos that refused to be logical. Lieutenant Park Min-ho, his consciousness transformed into a fighter pilot made of pure thought, flew impossible maneuvers through spaces that had no up or down. When Devourer constructs tried to analyze his flight patterns, he changed the rules of physics around him, making his ship exist in multiple locations simultaneously. The Nexari mathematicians created paradoxes that crashed Devourer processing systems. The Vorthak telepaths broadcast emotions that had no logical foundation, but carried immense psychological power. The Kethmoran warriors fought with concepts of honor and duty that the collective mind could not process or understand, but it was the humans who caused the most damage to the ancient intelligence, where the Devourers expected predictable responses based on millions of years of data. Humans provided creativity that had never existed before in the quantum realm. They told jokes that corrupted information networks. They created art that acted like viruses in the collective consciousness. They played music that rewrote the fundamental code of reality itself. These patterns make no sense, the collective mind broadcast in what might have been panic. They serve no logical purpose, they cannot be absorbed or adapted. Dr. Hayes, his consciousness appearing as a scientist in a laboratory that existed across 17 dimensions simultaneously, laughed as he watched Devourer systems struggle to process a simple human song. That's because you don't understand the most important thing about humans. We don't just survive. We make surviving into an art form. The turning point came when Park Soo-jin realized that the Devourer collective mind, for all its vast knowledge, had never learned to doubt itself. It had consumed so many civilizations and absorbed so much information that it had become trapped by its own certainty. Listen to me, she broadcast directly into the core of the collective consciousness. You've spent millions of years learning about warfare, technology, and conquest, but you've never learned the most important lesson of all. What lesson? The response came back, tinged with something that might have been curiosity. Sometimes, the best way to win a fight is to refuse to fight at all. And with that, Park Soo-jin did something that broke the fundamental programming of the Devourer mind. Instead of attacking or defending, she began to create. Not weapons or defenses, but something beautiful and pointless and utterly human. She created a garden. In the middle of the quantum computational realm, surrounded by crystallized knowledge and adaptive algorithms, a simple garden bloomed into existence. It had flowers that served no logical purpose, trees that provided no strategic advantage, and paths that led nowhere in particular. The Devourer collective mind tried to analyze the garden, to understand its function and adapt to its threat, but there was no threat to adapt to, no purpose to understand. It was simply beautiful, and beauty had no place in the collective's understanding of existence. What is the strategic value of this construct? The mind demanded. There isn't one, Park Soo-jin replied. That's the point. The garden grew, spreading through the quantum realm like an infection of pure creativity. Other humans added to it. Min-ho created a playground where gravity worked backwards. Dr. Hayes built a library filled with books that told different stories each time they were read. Ambassador Choi Na-young planted a grove of trees that sang in harmony with the quantum wind. The Devourers' attempts to contain or analyze the growing wonder only made it more complex and beautiful. Every adaptation they tried became another flower. Every defensive measure became another winding path through impossible landscapes. For the first time in its existence, the collective mind experienced something it had no framework for understanding: joy in creation for its own sake. We don't have to be enemies, Park Soo-jin offered. You've spent so long consuming and adapting that you forgot there are other ways to grow and learn. The quantum realm filled with silence as the ancient intelligence processed this impossible concept. Finally, a response came that was smaller, quieter, and somehow more personal than the vast collective voice they had been hearing. Show us. The war ended not with destruction, but with transformation. The Devourer collective mind, exposed to human creativity and imagination, began to change. Instead of consuming civilizations, they began to create alongside them. The quantum computational realm became a space where the knowledge of 12 galaxies could be combined with human innovation to build wonders that neither could have imagined alone. In normal space, the physical devourer ships powered down and began broadcasting peaceful greetings to the galactic fleet. The threat that had seemed unstoppable was ended not by superior weapons, but by superior imagination. When Park Soo-jin and the other volunteers returned from the quantum realm, they found a galaxy that had fundamentally changed. Earth was no longer the protected innocent world. It was recognized as the most strategically dangerous and creatively powerful civilization in known space. Commander Lee, Daeho stood once again on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station. But now he watched alien ships approaching not as tourists visiting a zoo, but as students coming to learn from teachers. The Nexari wanted to understand human chaos mathematics. The Vorthak sought to learn how emotions could be more powerful than pure logic. The Kethmoran requested training in psychological warfare techniques. Even species that had never shown interest in military matters wanted to study human strategies, not for conquest, but for defense against future unknown threats. Captain Kim Tae-won found himself appointed as the first Supreme Strategic Commander of the new Galactic Defense Initiative, with authority that spanned 47 star systems and growing. His first official act was to establish the Human Military Academy, where alien species could learn the unconventional tactics that had saved the galaxy. Dr. Park Soo-jin became Director of Interspecies Innovation, leading projects that combined alien technology with human creativity to solve problems no single species could handle alone. Her first major success was the development of quantum gardens, beautiful spaces that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously and served as meeting places for species with completely different forms of consciousness. Ambassador Choi Na-young was elected to the Galactic Council's inner circle, where her voice carried weight that would have been unimaginable just months before. Her first speech to the Council established new principles for galactic civilization. No species would be dismissed as primitive. All civilizations would be expected to contribute their unique strengths, and protection would come through cooperation rather than isolation. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the galaxy viewed conflict itself. The old ways of warfare, overwhelming force, technological superiority, honor-based combat, were supplemented with new concepts learned from humanity. Creativity as a weapon, imagination as a defense, the understanding that sometimes the most dangerous enemy was the one who refused to follow the rules everyone else accepted. 6 months after the end of the Devourer War, long-range sensors detected new signals from the space between galaxies.